My fiancé insisted on taking me on a ghost village adventure so I could fit in with his social circle. I knew the ghost village was strange and unpredictable, and after much difficulty, I finally got them out of the village, but my younger sister stabbed me twice and pushed me down the mountain. Wang Yan Yan, you little hick, go to hell. I cried out for help at the top of my lungs. But my fiancé pretended not to see me and only comforted my younger sister. Only then did I realize that it had all been premeditated. In the end, I ran out of strength, tumbled off the cliff, and was left to bear the undeserved blame, and yet they lived happily ever after. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to before entering the ghost village. One, Yen Yen, which road do you think we should take? My fiancé, Huahan, spoke from behind me, and I couldn't help but suck in a sharp breath. The intense feeling of weightlessness was still keeping every nerve on edge because not long ago, I had fallen off a cliff and died. Dots of firelight twinkled in the distance on the mountaintop, while cold winds howled in gusts. In my past life, after I finally managed to save them, my sister Wang Mianmian stabbed me twice and shoved me off the cliff. Her perfectly flawless face was twisted with disgust. Wang Yanyan, you little bumpkin, what makes you think you're worthy of snatching my brother Huahan from me? Go to hell. I was the long-lost true daughter the Wang family had only recently brought back, and I had already thought she might simply not like me, but I never imagined her hatred for me would be this close to murderous. Luckily, in the confusion, I grabbed a tree branch and clung there halfway down, shouting for help. Hearing me, Huahan rushed over, but he only gave me a cold glance before holding the tearful Wang Mianmian in his arms to comfort her. Only then did I realize they were a couple. It turned out they blamed me for tearing them apart, but this marriage was arranged by the Wang and Hua families in the first place. What does it have to do with me? If they were truly in love, they could have said so outright. Why drag me down with them? But before I could say anything else, a huge rock came crashing down on me. My head went buzz. Before long, I was too exhausted to go on, lost consciousness, rolled down the mountain, and ultimately died from my injuries. As soon as the news broke, netizens flooded the comments section with remarks. I heard this woman was supposedly a Taoist priest from Qingqing Mountain. Dying in a haunted village is pretty much a fitting end for her. What Taoist priest? She was just a fraud. It's the age of science now. How can you still believe in this nonsense? Just some country bumpkins from the mountains, ignorant and clueless, deliberately courting disaster. After I died, people said I got what I deserved. Meanwhile, my younger sister took my place as the heiress and married Huahanyu, and the two of them traveled all over the place, sweet and happy together. Just thinking about it made me grind my teeth in fury. I really had it coming in my past life. It served me right for saving those two pieces of trash too. Yen Yen, Huahan's shout snapped me out of my reverie. Only then did I realize I had really been reborn to the time before entering the ghost village. We were standing at what was essentially the entrance to the village. A thick fog rolled in from the darkness with a chilling wind, making one shiver involuntarily. I said coldly, Huahan, you picked the place, so you decide. Since you're determined to court death, even trying to stop you would make me the one in the wrong. In my previous life, it was here too that Huahan asked me which road to take. Drawing on years of experience, I led them along the safer path. I guided them through the poisonous fog, kept them away from venomous insects, and spared no effort in leading them out of the ghost village. And yet, even though I had clearly saved them, they still wanted to kill me. If that's how it is, then in this life, let them choose the road themselves. 3. Hearing me say that, Huahan frowned deeply. He was at a loss at that moment. Wang Mianmian spoke up decisively. Let's take the left path. The road on the right is so brightly lit, there's definitely a trap. A ghost village is supposed to be desolate, so where would any candlelight come from? Makes sense. Sister Mianmian is so clever. The others traveling with them all whistled and flattered her. These people were all thrill seekers who had gone on adventures with Huahan before, and they were also the circle of friends he talked about. At that, Huahan also looked up, his gaze at Wang Mianmian growing noticeably brighter. Little did they know, the glow of that candlelight was actually coming from fireflies. The presence of normal living creatures meant that path was relatively safer, but I couldn't be bothered to remind him, and just said indifferently, I'm afraid of the dark, so I'm not going. Cut it out. Huahan's expression darkened as he snapped, Yen Yen, I specially arranged this event for you. You think you can just say you're not going and that's that. Thanks, but I can't afford to play along with the stuff you set up. Goodbye. I let out a cold laugh, slung my canvas bag over my back, and turned to leave. Wang Yan Yan, what do you mean? Wang Mianmian spread her arms and blocked my way, demanding an answer. Brother Huahan knew you used to be a Taoist priest in Qingqing Mountain, so he wanted to bring you here and give you a chance to show what you can do. We're hoping you can fit into our circle as soon as possible, so don't be ungrateful after being shown some kindness." I let out a cold laugh and shot back, "You were the ones who tricked me into coming here in the first place. I told you, even though I'm a Taoist priest, I've never liked taking risks, but none of you ever asked for my opinion. Besides, the one Huahan is trying to win over and bring into his circle is clearly you, not me. In my previous life, the Wang family finally found me after losing me when I was little. To make up for it, they hoped I would marry into the Hua family as the real daughter of the Wang family. Just like that, Huahan became my fiancé. He said that to help me fit into his circle faster. He insisted on taking me along on a trip, worried I'd feel lonely. He even specially invited Wang Mianmian, the Wang family's adopted daughter and my nominal younger sister, to come with us. I thought they'd just pick some famous place and wander around for a bit, and that would be that. Who would have thought they'd bring me to this wild, wooded mountain area? Yen, all my friends like a thrill. Why not let them see what you can do? I could tell at a glance that this village was eerily sinister. It was clearly no place to be, but I figured they meant well, and it felt rude to refuse. So I went along with them. Little did I know that my unwillingness to refuse and my good-natured help would end up becoming my own death sentence. I'm not playing this kind of life or death dare. After I exposed their true colors, my fiancé and my sister's faces turned red and white. Me, Huahan, if you don't like me, you can call off the engagement. There's no need to pull this kind of. Enough, Huahan said sharply. This place is dangerous. I'm not going to leave you here by yourself. Yeah, sis, Wang Mianmian chimed in at my antics. Huahan's friends all looked displeased. A greasy little fat guy, munching on a huge chicken leg and smacking his lips, sneered, seriously, in this day and age, a Taoist, brother Huahan, only you and Mianmian wouldn't find it embarrassing to bring him out to hang with us. Exactly, be grateful, country bumpkin. I curled the corner of my mouth and couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on them. We're just not on the same path, so I'll be going now. I gently nudged Wang Mianmian, who was blocking my way, and prepared to leave. The next second, she suddenly threw herself to the ground. I'd seen people stage accidents for compensation before, but never in front of so many people. But this group acted blind, all glaring at me with hostility. Huahan lunged forward, snatching my bag away and pulling out a Swiss Army knife, pointing it straight at me. His eyes were dark and cold. Wang Yan, you've gone too far. Now I'm giving you two choices as well. Walk away on your own, or have someone carry you out. The standoff dragged on, everyone wearing fierce expressions, looking like they wanted nothing more than to tear me apart. I finally understood that this trip had been destined to be my journey into mortal danger. Whether I went or not, whether I could leave Ghost Village alive or not, they had already planned to take my life. At that moment, Wang Mianmian stood up and tugged at Huahan's arm. Brother Hua, my sister's timid. Please don't scare her. A sweet, innocent-looking face, saying such considerate words, but the malice in her eyes was downright blatant. In front of her were her murderer fiancé and her sister. Behind her were their accomplices, eyeing her covetously. Looks like I'm not getting out of this. The pain from the stone that hit me in my past life was still burning through my body, but all I could do was clench my fists and force a bitter smile as I gave in. Yeah, it's just a game, then let's go together. Before I went down the mountain, my master warned me. Human hearts have always been hard to read. Be careful in everything. If I keep arguing with these wicked people now, I'm afraid I'll only end up dying sooner in this life rather than that. I might as well try to bargain with the ghost. Perhaps there's still a glimmer of hope. 3. Huahan led the way, following the path Wang Mianmian had pointed out. A thick fog surged toward us, growing darker the farther we went in. Everyone hurriedly took out their phones and turned on the lights. With a faint fragrance of flowers in the air, we stepped out of the foyer and arrived at the entrance of Ghost Village. Just as Huahan was about to go in, two figures suddenly darted out of the black mist. They were two stray cats, one black and one white, standing side by side. They kept meowing at us, and two pairs of green eyes stared straight at us from the dark, sending a chill down our spines. But before long, they started hissing and snarling at each other, launching into a vicious fight. Wang Mianmian was startled by the sudden scene. She hurriedly took 2 steps back, hid behind Huahan, clutched his clothes tightly, and timidly peeked out half her head in curiosity. Don't be afraid, they're just 2 cats fighting. Huahan patted her forehead gently, his tone indulgent. Move aside. The chubby kid at the back of the line shoved me aside and squeezed forward. Eagerly, he rushed up and kicked the little cat twice before flashing a smug grin. I've cleared the way, let's move out. But they had no idea that when cats and dogs block the road, there's always a reason. This old saying proved there was bound to be danger ahead on this road in my past life. Wang Mianmian also insisted on taking this back route. I tried to talk them out of it, but they mocked me for being old-fashioned and even called me pretentious. It wasn't until I gave them a really fierce scare that they grudgingly followed me onto the main road, but even though I did everything I could to save them, I still ended up dead in the end. Thinking of that, I promptly shut my mouth, for after entering the ghost village, we didn't see any old, low houses. What greeted us was a thick, sturdy old pagoda tree. The pagoda tree was very tall, with a thick trunk. It would take 4 or 5 adults joining hands to fully encircle it. At the end of the dark path stood a tall, thick wall, covered in thorns. Clearly, the only way to get to the other side was to climb over it using the tree. Huahan glanced up at the old locust tree and ordered, "Take a break, everyone, we'll climb the tree into the village." In a bit, while there was a lull, I got my tattered cloth bag back. Huahan still didn't seem at ease, so he told a guy with glasses to keep watch at the entrance to the village. Before long, they started climbing the tree, helping one another up one after another. In the end, only 2 were left. "Stop petting the cat, you bumpkin," a guy with glasses came over and suddenly gave me, while I was treating the kitten's wounds, a hard kick. Seeing that, Wang Mianmian on the tree burst out laughing. I kept a faint expression, simply got up and dusted myself off, then casually put the white cat into the cloth sack. The man with glasses stared me down, half leading and half forcing me under the tree. He made me climb up step by step, as if afraid I'd slip away the moment he let his guard down. On second thought, though Huahan may not be much of a player, he does have a highly capable teammate under him. I reached out, hoping Wang Mianmian, who was standing above, would lend a hand. One little pull from her, and I could have gotten up there, but she deliberately touched my hand instead, staring at me with a strange look in her eyes as she said coquettishly, "Sister, looks like the meals at your dojo are pretty good. What's this supposed to mean? Are you trying to call me fat indirectly among our group?" Besides me and Wang Mianmian, everyone else is male. After she said that, they sized me up from head to toe, and their restless gazes made me deeply uncomfortable. I said in a cold voice, "Yeah. Not bad, well-balanced diet." As he spoke, he casually flexed his biceps and, using the force of a few tree branches, climbed up with ease. At that moment, Wang Mianmian's face had turned green. People who live in the city may not really understand kids like us from the mountains. During those years I lived at the martial arts school, I did plenty of chores like carrying water, chopping firewood, climbing trees, and raiding bird nests. Isn't climbing this tree just like walking up a hill once everyone has made it to the other side? Gather up. Suddenly, clusters of eerie green flames flared up one after another. 5. Wow, will-o'-the-wisps. Wang Mianmian clutched Wang Hanyu's sleeve tightly, hopping around excitedly and squealing with delight. Then the 2 of them hugged tightly, pulled out their phones, and started taking selfies. Huahan's hand gazed at Wang Mianmian with overwhelming tenderness, looking like he wanted nothing more than to immediately and forcefully fuse her into his body. It was disgusting. Just looking at it made me feel sick. It was only after dying once that I finally understood. It turned out that everything I had gone through had been planned all along. My fiancé had fallen for an orphan from the welfare home, but he didn't dare go against the Hua family's wishes. So in my previous life, he and his childhood sweetheart from the orphanage teamed up to deliberately lure my young self into the hands of human traffickers. Then they sweet-talked my heartbroken parents into adopting that sweet, pitiful orphan girl who'd grown up with me, Wang Mianmian. All I had to do was wait until I came of age, go through with the marriage alliance, and marry the princess I had longed for in my heart. Who would have thought? The Wang family never stopped searching for their child, and at last, their persistence paid off. They found me. To make up for what I'd been missing all these years, they decided to hold a family recognition banquet for me and announce that I was their heiress. After scheming for years, the duck they were about to have in hand flew away just like that. How could the 2 of them possibly be willing? So they sweet-talked me into coming to this cursed village, all so they could set me up and kill me. How vile can you get? At the thought of that, I couldn't help but say, "Huahan, if you don't want to call off the engagement, I can convince my parents to let Wang Mianmian marry into your family. After all, nonsense." Huahan immediately let go of Wang Mianmian, frowned, and shot me a vicious glare. "This marriage alliance is not just a matter between you and me. It also concerns the business cooperation between our 2 families." He clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with malice. So, he also wanted the Wang family's fortune. That greed was like ghostly fire in the night, burning on and on through the mist. The mist was also thinning at a visible pace. We kept moving forward. The traces of modernity gradually faded into the old world atmosphere, and the ghost village's eerie aura grew Even stronger then, a faint peach blossom fragrance wafted out, refreshing and soothing. Suddenly the bespectacled man leading the way shouted excitedly, "Whoa, it's a painted clay figurine, now that's exciting." Hearing that, everyone quickened their pace even more the moment they stepped into the center of the ghost village. The last traces of mist dispersed at once, revealing everything clearly before their eyes. Pink petals began drifting down through the air, one lantern after another hung under the eaves lit up on its own. The soft red glow of candlelight gradually illuminated the dim old street. The once bleak ghost village suddenly lit up. "Wow, that's amazing." Wang Mianmian clapped excitedly, her eyes shining as she looked at Huan. "Brother Huan, take a look at the path I chose. Isn't it pretty, my little Mianmian? I've always had excellent taste." Huan pinched her cheek affectionately. "It was downright creepy, but I have to admit, her taste really was good, so good, it was deadly. In my previous life, I chose the safer, well-lit road, and never made it here." Leaning in toward the candlelight, I began to take a careful look around at the steaming Baozi shop. A male clay figurine dressed in a green hanfu was busily pounding dough on a low table with a hammer. In the bookstore across the way, a male clay figurine in a blue hanfu kept flipping through ancient books. Next door at the tailor's shop, a female cloth doll in a pink dress was also there, scissors in hand, snipping away at the fabric. They looked eerily lifelike, but their movements were stiff and mechanical, and all of them wore frozen smiles that sent a chill down your spine. Everything here was steeped in an intensely eerie atmosphere, but this bunch of fools were thrilled beyond belief, constantly flipping over and stroking the leather figurines. "So smooth, it feels so real." The lecherous man in glasses teasingly hooked a finger under the seamstress's chin and leered, "This leather doll really is quite pretty, shame its functions are a little lacking." Just as everyone was laughing and sighing over his misfortune, suddenly the eyes of the female leather attendant seemed to glance sideways at the man in glasses, then as if sensing something, then she suddenly looked past him and stared straight at me. It startled me so badly that goosebumps instantly broke out all over my skin, and a chill crept up my spine. I suddenly remembered what my master had said: when you come across something odd and it doesn't seem threatening, you can just pretend you didn't see it. So I pretended I was seeing things and, acting perfectly normal, followed the crowd into the steamed bun shop. But with every step I took, I couldn't shake the feeling that a few invisible eyes were watching our every move from the darkness. 6. The bun shop was steaming several trays of buns, and the rich aroma of freshly steamed buns wafted through the air. The chubby kid had already been itching to dig in and had polished off more than half the plate. "All right, let's start truth or dare here," Wang Mianmian said with a bright smile. There were 6 of us all together, so we found a long table. The chubby guy and the one with glasses took the 2 ends. The long-legged guy and I sat on one side, and Huan sat with Wang Mianmian. The game began. Huan took out a bottle and set it spinning on the table. The bottle spun wildly before slowly coming to a stop, with its mouth pointing at the long-legged guy. Without a second thought, he chose dare. Everyone told him to go to the bookstore and find a book. The bookstore was just across from the steamed bun shop, not far away. The risky part was that the book he needed to take wasn't on the shelf, it was the one in the mannequin's hand at the bookstore. So Longlegs made full use of his biggest advantage, bolting out to grab it first and running off just as fast, completely unaware. The strange smile on the mannequin's face deepened once again. The second round began, and the bottle started spinning again. This time, it was Wang Mianmian's turn. She said she chose truth, but all it amounted to was trying to play matchmaker between her and Huan. By the 3rd round, it was the chubby kid's turn. His dare was to eat the next steamer full of buns. Eating wasn't hard, but forcing yourself to keep going when you couldn't was pretty awkward. And sure enough, the 4th round had already started, and he was still forcing himself to keep eating. His face was practically turning green, but I didn't have time to deal with him, because it was my turn now. I'm afraid of the dark, so I picked truth too. But someone wasn't too happy about that. Yen, you're a Taoist, for goodness sake, you look pretty tough, so now that you're here, you ought to show us what you can do. Don't copy Mianmian and act all girly. Pick truth or dare. Huan toyed with a Swiss Army knife, his expression dark and brooding. It sounded like a suggestion, but it was really a threat. But he seemed to forget that the girl he was talking about was the same age as me, a little on the plump side, and even sturdier than I was. Wanting to fit into our circle isn't that easy, country bumpkin. The chubby kid was spitting all over the place. I'll start you off with something easy. With that, he licked the steamed bun he couldn't finish and handed it to me. It was downright nauseating. I glanced at Huan, but his face gave nothing away. He had no intention of stopping it. Just like in my previous life, he stood on the cliff, watching coldly as I Fell. Wang Mianmian covered her face and let out a disdainful scoff, but the smile at the corners of her mouth was downright smug. They're really such bullies. I was just clenching my fist, about to flip the table, when the white cat in the cloth bag suddenly sprang out, meowed once, and bit the little chubby kid hard on the hand. Even the bun got bitten in half. Wang Mianmian screamed and threw herself into Huahan's arms. The little chubby kid went red with rage and swore he'd skin that white cat. Alive, wait, the man with glasses suddenly shouted to stop them. What was that just now? Everyone followed the direction he pointed. What had once been the meat filling in the buns was now turning into tiny black bugs that kept wriggling out, densely packed and writhing everywhere. It's corpse bugs, I shouted, quickly pushing back from the table and standing up. I pulled out a packet of white phosphorus from the cloth bag, tore it open in a flash, and scattered it around. The corpse bugs were instantly burned to death. By the time I came to my senses, the people in the steamed bun shop had already vanished. In the middle of the crisis, they were all crowding around the doorway, some clutching each other, others vomiting. Sis, since you knew they were corpse beetles, why didn't you say so earlier and let Fatty eat so much? Wang Mianmian struck first. Wang Yanyan, you're using those little tricks of yours on your own people. Huahan challenged me, his voice icy. The chubby guy's face twisted into a ferocious scowl. If the tall guy hadn't held him back, he looked ready to come at me and tear me apart on the spot. I folded my arms and let out a cold laugh. You're giving me too much credit, I just don't have X-ray vision, they huffed, then left me behind and staggered on ahead in twos and threes, supporting one another. They didn't believe me. It's like they refused to believe there are no ghosts in Ghost Village. The reason Ghost Village came to be known as Ghost Village in the first place, it isn't just because it's tucked away in the mountains, uninhabited and ominously eerie. More importantly, this place is bizarre and unpredictable, no longer fit for human life. But to be honest, I don't know whether there are ghosts in Ghost Village, but I do know that in this world, people are more terrifying than ghosts. 7. The main group kept moving forward, and I silently followed behind them. Before long, they arrived at an old ancestral hall to rest and regroup. The ancestral hall wasn't large, roughly only about 80 square meters. Outside was a small courtyard with a few dead trees in it. Oddly enough, there wasn't a single fallen leaf on the ground. It looked quite clean, as if someone had specially swept it beforehand. There was only a faint hint of a musty, moldy stench in the air, enough to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Everyone found a place to sit down and rest. Huahan took out the guide he had prepared earlier, his expression sharp as he began setting the stage for a terrifying atmosphere. Online reports say that no one has ever made it out of this ghost village alive. Everyone, be careful, what's there to fear? We're all veterans here, as long as certain people don't resort to dirty tricks. As soon as he finished speaking, they all turned to me with dark, unreadable looks. I ignored them and just took out the insect repellent and sprayed it on myself. But suddenly, Huahan stepped forward and snatched the insect repellent right out of my hand. Wang Yan, the smell of you is already enough to drive those bugs away. Why are you still spraying more? Mian has such delicate, tender skin. Do you even know how to be considerate of your younger sister? Wang Mian let out a scoff, then crossed her long, slender, fair legs and let Huahan spray her with mosquito repellent. Watching him act like such a bootlicker, I felt ashamed for the Hua family. Forget it, forget it. It has nothing to do with me anyway. I might as well find a corner to stay in and keep out of sight. But just then, Wang Mian deliberately stretched out her leg and blocked my way. She said in a sarcastic tone, Brother Huahan, don't say that about my sister. After all, she spent over 10 years at the mountain temple, and the smell on her body isn't something she can just get rid of whenever she wants. After saying that, she took out a bottle of perfume from her bag and handed it to me. Sis, this is a designer perfume. Hurry up and spray some on, unless you want to scare every man away. The ancestral hall erupted in laughter. I said nothing, just stared at her without blinking. After a while, I said to her in a dead serious tone, Sis, your teeth are really yellow. Wang Mian instantly covered her mouth and stamped her foot in fury. You're the one who's filthy, you're filthy through and through. I shrugged and went off to the side to close my eyes and rest. While they weren't paying attention, I smeared on the cat blood I'd collected earlier when petting the cat. As the saying goes, cats block the road to the underworld, dogs ward off evil. There's no dog blood on hand, so I'll have to make do with cat blood. Oddly enough, those people didn't use knives when they attacked, yet these two cats were covered in wounds. But the wounds weren't serious, and they weren't fatal. The amount of blood I could collect was limited, so I had planned to mix it with mosquito repellent and use it together. What a pity. For now, all they could do was smear the stuff around their necks and ankles. to keep whatever the hell was down there from crawling up. A few minutes later, they used their phone flashlights to carve out a patch of light, and everyone sat down together in a circle. They spread the map on the ground and started gesturing over it, whispering to one another as if discussing something. They deliberately kept their voices very low, not wanting me to hear. Soon, Juan stood up, brushed the dust off his pants, and said, "I'll go check the way ahead, you wait here for me." After he left, the ancestral hall fell silent, but in less than 2 minutes, he came rushing back, gasping for breath. Panicked, he said, "Hurry, go, the clay figurine, it's come to life." 8. As soon as he said that, he immediately grabbed Wang Mianmian and ran outside. Seeing this, everyone grew nervous too. They quickly got up, packed their things, and followed behind them. I followed right behind, but just as I was about to step out of the courtyard gate, Juan shoved me back hard. The next second, the main gate slammed shut, and they locked me inside the ancestral hall. No matter how hard I pulled at the door, I couldn't get it open. Through the crack in the wooden door, I caught a glimpse of Wang Hanyu's icy stare. His voice was cold and sharp. "Wang Yanyan, just wait here for us to come back." Wang Mianmian chimed in smugly, "Yeah, Yan, you're timid, you'd only slow us down, so just stay here and wait for us to come back." Wait, so they want me to just sit here and die, is that it? They were just saying how this place is so remote and desolate, worried about me being alone, and now they're cruel enough to lock me up all alone in this godforsaken place. How hypocritical. What am I supposed to do? Those skin mannequins really seem to be moving. 9. The horrifying eyes and stiff smiles of those skin mannequins involuntarily came to mind. I was instantly hit with a chill that ran straight through me, and I frantically yanked at the wooden door, shouting in rage, "Let me out, now." But Wang Mianmian panicked and staggered back 2 steps, covering her eyes. She pretended to wipe away tears that weren't even there, sobbing pitifully, "Big sis is so scary, I'm terrified." Ha, what an act. Would someone brave enough to come to Ghost Village for an adventure be scared out of their wits by a little noise like mine? And yet Juan believed it. He whipped out the dagger again and suddenly lunged at me. Thud. The dagger was driven hard into the wooden door. I instinctively dodged backward, lost my balance, and stumbled to the ground in a sorry state. The people outside burst into laughter. "If you scare Mianmian again, I'll gouge your eyes out," Juan warned sharply. The eye peering through the crack in the door was bloodshot, filled with malice. He gave a wicked smile, then turned and left with the others, cruelly abandoning me in the dark ancestral hall. 9. The wind whispered like a ghost, and the tree shadows in the yard stretched out clawed hands, reaching for me. I crouched low, curling up tight against the wooden door. I watched their laughing, joking figures grow farther and farther away, until the dim light slowly faded out. Darkness had completely swallowed me up. I fumbled through my bag for my phone, my trembling hands frantically pressing the buttons, but the screen stayed black. Dead battery. What terrible luck. I shut my eyes with a hurt, aggrieved look. Even though I'd been a Taoist priest at Qingqing Mountain for over 10 years, I was honestly a scaredy cat in the past. Whenever there was any mission, I was always the one my senior brothers and sisters protected the most. Now that they're gone, what am I supposed to do? Suddenly, a faint, shuffling sound of footsteps came from not far away. I slowly looked up, only to find myself staring straight into the female clay servant's terrifying bulging eyes. Several other clay servants were following close behind her. A whole procession of them was marching toward me in a grand, eerie line, moving in perfect unison, arms and legs alike. I panicked and quickly pulled out a talisman, shouting, "Back off, back off, back off. If you've got a grievance, go after the one who caused it. I didn't do anything to offend you, so why are you coming after me?" But they paid me no mind, their faces locked in stiff, eerie smiles. The talisman didn't work. I was so scared I was on the verge of tears, and in desperation I crumpled the talisman into a ball. Yet deep down, I was filled with nothing but resentment and unwillingness. Was I really going to die again? No way. I'm a dignified Taoist priest. If I were to die at the hands of a ghost, I'd be a laughingstock for the rest of my life. Besides, in this life, I have to survive. Even if I'm not making steamed buns, I still have to stand my ground. I'm going all in. If I die, I'll just start over from scratch. I want to see for myself which is more terrifying, the wicked or the ghosts. 10. I summoned my courage and quickly got to my feet. I sprinted toward the dead tree, sprang up, grabbed a branch, and snapped one off. Then I landed in a roll and came up in a fighting stance. The puppets instantly slammed into the dead tree and snapped it in two, then shifted formation into a circle, trapping me dead center. I was holding the branch, ready to fight them tooth and nail. Meow. A piercing cat yell rang out. The courage I'd just barely worked up vanished in an instant, cut in half by the shock. I saw the black cat strolling leisurely along the edge of the eaves, when suddenly the white cat burst out of the bushes and lunged at my feet before I could even react. It had already lifted its hind leg and pissed all over my pant leg. It was practically treating me like a toilet. At last, the fear and disgust made me let out an uncontrollable scream. Wang Yanyan, you're not scared to death, are you? If she's scared to death, she had it coming. How could a country bumpkin ever fit into our world? Brother Huahan, don't bring her along. Next time, who knows if there'll even be a next time, should we go collect her body? The muffled voices of Wang Mianmian and the others with Huahan drifted over from beyond the stone wall, looking at the two pairs of flashing emerald eyes ahead. I quickly steadied my emotions. His lips curled up involuntarily. Collect the bodies. I'm afraid they'll be disappointed. 11. Come to think of it, no one knows what these two cats were fed growing up. Their urine seemed to have some peculiar kind of power. The nearby clay figurines somehow vanished all of a sudden, and I felt like I'd been hung with a smelly good luck charm. I never expected that the small act of kindness I showed them earlier, when I bandaged them up, would end up saving my life. It really does seem that one should do good. Good deeds bring good rewards. Still, this ghost village is truly eerie. It can even mutate the most spiritually attuned cat into developing self-awareness. At the behest of the two cats, I climbed onto the roof of the ancestral hall. I lay comfortably on the roof tiles, gazing into the distance. The thick fog not far away was slowly gathering into a mass, and it looked like the weather was about to change. 12. Strange. We've already walked through here 3 times. Why does every street look exactly the same? A ghost wall. Come on. Science says it's just our visual bias and the similarity of the surroundings that throw off our sense of direction. It's been a long time since we ran into something this exciting. They chatted excitedly. Huahan looked at Wang Mianmian with deep affection and said softly, Mianmian, since we're here, let's leave after you've had your fill of fun. Great. She clapped her hands in delight, but their flirtatious mood quickly dissolved under everyone's teasing, and they moved on to another round of dares. The stakes seemed even higher than in the previous round. The little chubby guy was up first again. He had to go to the steamed bun shop, but this time he wasn't there to grab buns. He had to snatch the hammer from the green-clad clay figurine's hand. The chubby kid walked off with a spring in his step, while the others sat cross-legged at the street corner, continuing to wait. Just as everyone was getting a little impatient, the chubby kid came back. He walked mechanically with his head down, empty-handed. Wang Mianmian and the others burst out laughing, mocking his failure. The chubby little guy was no longer as irritable as before. Instead, his face was all awkward smiles, and he didn't dare argue back a single word. Of course, how could a clay figurine possibly talk back? 13. Just moments ago, as soon as the chubby little guy reached the Bowsy shop, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Then its limbs began to twitch and contort into a grotesque pose. It then placed its own head on the low table and let the leather puppet smash it open with a hammer. Skin split, flesh burst open, and brain matter splattered everywhere. The scene was horrifyingly bloody, terrifying beyond words. It looked excruciatingly painful, but the chubby kid didn't so much as make a sound. Looking closely, you could even see plenty of corpse beetles writhing in the brain matter, greedily sucking on the mush of his brains. Eating too much of the same thing is never really a good idea. Then, in the next second, the bookstore leather puppet and the female seamstress flashed into view behind the chubby kid. His expression was sinister and terrifying. The skin mannequin from the bookstore pinned the chubby little boy firmly to the ground. The female skin mannequin pulled out a pair of scissors from behind her and, starting at the nape of his neck, brutally cut the skin off the chubby little boy. You have to admit, a tailor is a tailor. Absolutely top-notch craftsmanship. A whole sheet of skin was intact. Then it was neatly pulled over another human-shaped wooden figure and quickly stitched up. In an instant, the fat-skinned puppet came to life, mechanically moving its limbs and rejoining the group. With the sky growing dark, the few people who were busy having fun failed to notice anything unusual at all. The next one to go was the man with glasses. To suit his taste, they deliberately arranged for him to go to the female leather maid at the tailor's shop and cut off a piece of silk with the scissors in her hand. Before setting off, he even licked his lips with a greasy look. In less than 5 minutes, he had successfully completed the task and returned alive. Yet I still clearly heard Wang Mianmian scream, "Ah, a ghost, no, it's a skin puppet, run." Yes, while the glasses-wearing man was cutting the fabric, the female leather puppet had already used her sharp nails to brutally slit open the skin on his back. Then, before anyone noticed, she merged with him. By the time he returned to the group, he was carrying the female tailor puppet on his back. The only thing was, the leather puppet was as light as a feather and incredibly skilled. Throughout the entire process, the glasses-wearing man showed no reaction at all. Only then, seeing everyone panic, did He turned his head curiously. The female paper servant was no pushover either. She went straight in for a face-to-face kill. The spectacled man, his face contorted, was slowly swallowed into the paper servant's body. By the time he was spit back out, he was beyond recognition. In a way, even his death was getting what he wanted. After quite a while, Hua-Han's muffled voice finally came through. Mian Mian was the quickest to react. Everyone, hide and hold your breath. But then, in the very next second, Hua-Han's usually calm voice suddenly turned panicked. Run, the clay figurine is back again, bro. It seems like no matter where we hide, they can still find us. Hurry back to the ancestral hall. Wang Yanyan is a Taoist. Go ask her for help. 14. Only then did the four people on the old street, panicking and at a loss, think of me, but I'm really not happy about this. In their eyes, shouldn't I have been dead already? How come I've come back to life again at a time like this? Besides, after waiting so long, I still hadn't seen a single interaction between Hua-Han, Wang Mianmian, and the pottery figurines. Hua-Han took the lead, darting here and there to avoid danger for a while before starting to run again, but they seemed to have forgotten. They'd run into a ghost wall here before. Before long, they were spinning around in circles like headless flies. How fascinating. Luckily, Hua-Han had a bit of sense and immediately sensed something was off. They immediately changed course, smashed straight through the bookstore door, and ran out the back entrance instead. At last, they were back at the entrance to the ancestral hall. After escaping the ghostly maze, they spotted me at once, sitting on the rooftop and watching the show. Wang Mianmian was panting hard, one hand on her hip, sweat streaming down her face as she glared up at me and pointed furiously. Wang Yanyan, are you blind? Hurry up and come down to open the door for us. I snorted and reminded them, you locked this door from the outside. How am I supposed to open it? For a moment, embarrassment flickered across their faces, and then they fumbled around trying to unlock it. Too bad, they'd really gone at it hard back then, so how could it possibly come undone so easily now? The sound of the leather puppet's footsteps grew closer and closer. Hua-Han and the long-legged man were the first to drag Wang Mianmian over to the base of the wall. With great effort, they lifted her up, then gave her a hard shove, tossing her straight inside. Ah, that hurts. A branch jutting out from the wall slashed a deep gash across Wang Mianmian's face, from the corner of her mouth all the way to behind her left ear. Blood kept gushing out, and her right foot was sprained too. Looks like this is going to cost a pretty penny in plastic surgery. I clicked my tongue in admiration. Wang Mianmian sat slumped on the floor, covering her face as huge tears kept spilling down one after another, glaring at me in a huff. Hearing the crying, Hua-Han snapped, Wang Yanyan, if you dare bully Mianmian, you're dead meat. Me, say that again once you actually get in here. Soon, a rope was tossed over the wall from outside. Hua-Han shouted, Mianmian, tie it to the tree, hurry. She limped to the base of the wall and snapped at me irritably, hurry up and pull. Honestly, do you have no sense at all? I let out a cold laugh and raised my voice as much as I could so everyone could hear. Yeah, you're the one with real sense, didn't even notice the tree's already fallen over. When you left me to fend for myself and locked me up in here, I was out there battling that paper servant for 300 rounds, and did any of you ever worry that I might die in here? Wang Mianmian's face turned livid, but she quickly thought of something, and a hint of relief appeared at the corners of her mouth. Good thing I'm already in, brother Hua-Han, you'll have to figure something out yourselves. No one said a word, for a moment. The only sound was the low growl of the leather figure. Sorry, a voice of apology rang out from outside the wall. Wang Yanyan, I'm sorry, we shouldn't have treated you like this. It was the tall-legged man, who had been quiet and reserved the whole way. The apology came too late. I wanted to accept it, but my compassion got the better of me. I'm no saint, but I'm not made of stone either. My master once said, to recognize your mistakes and correct them is the greatest virtue. He's already apologized. If I stood by and did nothing, wouldn't that make me just like Hua-Han and the others? Hua-Han, you owe me an apology too, I said coldly. Dream on. Hua-Han snapped back stubbornly. It's okay, Mianmian, don't worry about us, just make sure you're safe. I have to say, he's incredibly devoted when it comes to love. He can still turn around and comfort her in a crisis like this. Got hit hard by a full-on display of couple PDA. Still, I'd really like to see whether those two actually have mutual feelings for each other. 15. Wang Yanyan, you came from Qingqing Mountain. There's got to be a way for you to buy us some time, right? After coming in, Wang Mianmian actually held a military dagger to my back and threatened me. Compared with how decisive she was in her past life, she's a lot more hesitant now. I knew she wouldn't dare make a move, because the clay figurines were real, and I was the only card they had that could keep them alive. Use insect repellent to mask the living scent. If the figurines can't detect it, they should turn away, but you'll have to find a way in before the smell disperses. Having said that, the three outside kept spraying insect repellent non-stop, too anxious to notice. They completely missed the sly grin on the fat figurine's face. They formed a human ladder, getting ready to climb over the wall one by one. The long-legged guy was the lightest, so he went up first. He made it onto the wall and sat right on top, ready to pull up the second person. I moved closer to the wall, ready to help whenever needed. Juan was the second one. He had planned to keep right on the first person's heels, but the fat man suddenly grabbed his arm so hard he couldn't break free. Damn fatso, are you out of your mind? Don't you know what kind of shape you're in? Juan cursed under his breath, but the instant he saw the fat man's face, his fury twisted into sheer terror. Before he could say another word, Wang Mianmian, who was peering out through the stone window in the wall to check what was happening outside, let out a panicked scream. He's a pai yong. As soon as she said that, she took off running back into the ancestral hall. Even though she knew the pai yong wouldn't hurt her, there was nothing to be done about it. Fear of death is only human nature. Even the long-legged guy was startled. He leaped down at once, grabbed me, and dragged me into the ancestral hall. He did feel somewhat guilty toward me. Outside the courtyard wall, only Juan was clawing at it alone, desperately trying to climb up. On the brink of death, he shouted for help. Come pull me up, hurry, help me. That desperate tone was just like mine in my past life. Hanging by a branch on the cliff edge, desperate and helpless. People are cold and heartless. If anyone's going to help, then someone has to face the terracotta servant's terrifying smile and life-threatening menace. After seeing firsthand how terrifying the paper servants were, no one was willing to risk their life. Suddenly, Wang Mianmian pointed at me, a malicious glint in her eyes. Sister, you go. We've been running for so long that we're exhausted, and you've just been resting here the whole time. The long-legged man thought for a moment and said, no matter what, he is your fiancé. I leaned against the pillar and let out a cold laugh. Take a break. Why don't you try being locked up in here with the doll too? And who would leave his fiancé behind and run off with some other woman? Now you know how to pass the buck. I'm afraid Wang Mianmian is probably the one he loves most in Juan's heart, isn't she? Then I turned sideways and kept pouring oil on the fire. Little sister, your brother Juan is so good to you. How can you just leave him all alone? Wang Mianmian was so anxious she practically jumped out of her skin. Why, you can't just talk nonsense. We only have a sibling-like bond. Me, you ungrateful wretch. For your sake, Juan was willing to sell me to human traffickers. And you call that just sibling affection? How could you? Exposed by me. Wang Mianmian looked utterly terrified, but soon enough, things were back to normal. Keep talking nonsense, and I'll rip your mouth apart. After saying that, she lunged at me with a knife, and I dodged to the side. I suddenly slapped a medicated plaster onto her face. Worry about your own mouth first. The jaw-dropping bombshell made the long-legged man's eyes widen in disbelief. He kicked the knife out of Wang Mianmian's hand. A sweat kept pouring down from nerves. The smell of the insect repellent grew fainter and fainter. Seeing the other skin puppets closing in again, the long-legged man abruptly shoved her out. Mianmian, go on. Juan is always the nicest to you. But at the crucial moment, Wang Mianmian suddenly went weak in the knees and kept backing away. No, I'm not going. Whoever wants to go can go. I'm not going. After saying that, she flopped onto the ground and started acting spoiled and unreasonable. Look, how could a hypocrite possibly have a tender, affectionate heart? In the end, when disaster strikes, everyone looks out for themselves. On Juan's side, no one ever came to rescue him. While the clay figurines that had turned back behind him were getting closer and closer, the urging voice climbed over his deep fear. Trembling, can't you hurry up and save me? Perhaps when faced with life and death, people can unleash energy they never knew they had. As he spoke, both hands were already straining to grip the top edge of the wall. Seeing this, the long-legged man immediately stepped forward, took a short run up, and used his height advantage to vault over the wall. I hauled on him with all my might, but the chubby clay figure below was clinging tightly to Juan's leg, and the long-legged man was about to be dragged down too. I grabbed Wang Mianmian, who had collapsed limply to the ground, and dragged her back into the courtyard with me. The long-legged man was in charge of holding on to Wang Hanyu's hand from above. Wang Mianmian was down below, holding on to the long-legged guy's clothes, while I wrapped my arms around Wang Mianmian's waist. 1, 2, 3, the long-legged guy called out the count, and everyone strained together. Though we were all supposed to be pulling together, Wang Mianmian's hand was only loosely gripping the long-legged guy's clothes, And he was just pretending to put in effort with his facial expression. It looked like he was putting in all his effort. But he wasn't actually using any strength at all. I wrapped my arms tightly around Wang Mianmian's waist and shoved back hard without hesitation. The next second, Wang Mianmian's feigned strength instantly collapsed, and we both fell backward hard. The tall guy nearly got shoved out by the momentum too. Frowning, he turned around and snarled, "You fake green tea bitch, if you don't want to pull, then don't go around hurting people." Wang Mianmian, who had always been well protected, couldn't take the scolding. She covered her face and broke down in tears, then ran back to the ancestral hall in a panic. "Why are you all bullying me? What does it have to do with me whether he lives or dies?" Oh, so she's finally let her true feelings spill out by now. Even a blind person could see through her selfish, fake nature hiding beneath that angelic face. Huan couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Mianmian, just then, the few leather-clad servants were about to catch him in an instant. The long-legged man seemed to unleash some incredible burst of strength and yanked him in. Successfully, we helped Wang Hanyu and quickly made our way back to the ancestral hall. Fortunately, the leather-clad servants couldn't jump in. They could only keep roaring at the doorway now. The locked wooden door acted like a safety barrier, turning the ancestral hall into a secure room. Of course, I won't tell them, even if the door is open, they still won't come in. And it was all thanks to those two little kittens they kicked and injured. At last, they were saved, and everyone let out a long sigh of relief. But before one wave had fully subsided, another was already rising. 16. There were claw-like scratches on Huan's back and the right side of his body, and it looked like quite a bit of flesh had been torn away. The torn wounds were all a bloody, mangled mess. The long-legged man's face darkened as he said in a low voice, "Call the police now." The long-legged guy finally realized something was off and decided to call the police. Supporting the weakened Wang Hanyu, he said to me, "Go find somewhere with a good signal and call the police." I shook my head, held up my phone with its black screen, and replied coolly, "My phone's dead." The long-legged man paused, then turned and shouted at the stunned Wang Mianmian again, "What are you standing there for? Call the police, now." But she seemed too frightened to react, standing frozen in place, only covering her face and sobbing. Furious beyond words, the long-legged man hurled the injured, weakened Huan straight at her and pulled out his phone to look for a signal. When Wang Mianmian saw Huan, she reacted as if she'd seen a ghost and sprang away. She let the man crash to the ground. The wound tore open at once, blood pouring out uncontrollably. He rolled around on the floor in agony, but when he heard Wang Mianmian's muffled sobs, he still endured the pain and tried to comfort her. "Mianmian, don't cry, I'm fine." His voice was weak and hoarse, barely above a whisper. Ah, such a hopeless little simp's devotion, wasted on the wrong person in the end. Just then, the long-legged guy trotted back, excitedly announcing, "I've called the police. I'm sure we'll be rescued soon." "Sure, but will it really be that fast?" This ghost village was a remote place Huan had carefully hand-picked online, shrouded in mist. Back then, it took us a full 2 days to stumble our way in here by sheer luck. Even though I did manage to leave the ghost village in my past life, it took the rescue team a long time to find them, and my body as well. And during the time we were waiting for rescue, Huan's wound seemed to be poisoned. It slowly rotted and then spread to his face and eventually throughout his whole body. Gradually, he began to grow afraid and kept asking us, "I still look okay, right? I'm fine, aren't I?" After a day had passed, the roar from the skin puppet at the door suddenly fell silent. At last, the rescue team arrived wearing gas masks. They showed up much sooner than I expected. From what they said, it seemed they found us by tracking the long-legged man's phone. The rescue team fitted each of us with gas masks. Looking at Huan, whose body was rotting away, the medic said sternly, "He's badly injured right now and shouldn't be moved. I need to do some basic wound cleaning immediately." "Who here is closest to him? Talk to him and distract him a little." Just then, Huan's voice came out hoarse and rough as he called, "Mianmian, where are you?" Longlegs and I looked straight at Wang Mianmian, but she only hid behind the rescue team, her whimpering and sniffling coming muffled from inside the gas mask. "No, I'm not here, I'm not going." The tall guy pointed at her and yelled, "You ungrateful ingrate, Huan always treats you so well, and now when it matters most, you can't even spare him a few minutes to talk. If you hadn't insisted on coming to this crappy place to play some dare game, would we have ended up like this?" Usually, Huan would never bear to say a harsh word to her, but now even the tall guy was shouting and cursing at her. Wang Mianmian broke down in tears, and under everyone's gaze, she had no choice but to steel herself and slowly step forward. But after only 2 steps, the moment she saw Huan's rotting flesh, she started retching uncontrollably. "Take me away now. I can't stay here anymore. Hurry up and get me out of here." At that moment, Hwahan finally closed his eyes in disappointment. 17. The medical staff began cleaning and debriding his wound. Even after the anesthetic, the alcohol stung so badly because the wound was so large that it still made him writhe uncontrollably. It was so suffocating, you could feel it through the air. "Hwahan, in my last life, I saved all of you, only to be killed by your own hands, and now, your body is rotting away, racked with unbearable pain. The one you risked your life to protect has abandoned you too. Is this really what you wanted?" The rescue team held his hand and comforted him. "Hang in there, it'll be over soon." To keep him encouraged, the rescue team took turns chatting with him. "Hey handsome, are you married?" "Not yet, but I will be soon." "Is that crying little girl just now your fiancé?" She's beautiful, isn't she? I'm going to have lots of kids with her in the future." As he looked ahead to the future, Hwahan, his face battered and bruised, slowly flashed a big grin. "Rescue team, then we wish you two a lifetime of happiness in advance." After a bit of chatting, the minor debridement procedure was over in no time. At last, the four of us were rescued, and we got into the rescue team's vehicle and set off for home. Looking at the sealed-off ghost village, tears gradually blurred my vision. In this life, I made it 18. By the time Juan's dad and mom were on their way to the hospital, the rescue team had already filled them in on everything that had happened. They hurried to the operating room door before they even had a chance to ask about the surgery inside. Wang Mianmian rushed over and threw herself into their arms, crying her eyes out. "Mom, Dad, I thought I'd never see you again. It was all because my sister insisted on going to that cursed village and got us into this mess." I was just about to explain when I saw Mrs. Wang angrily shoved Wang Mianmian away and slap her hard across the face. "Enough. Do you really think I'm blind? Ever since Yan Yan came back, you've been picking on her every chance you get, and now you're trying to pin this on her. If my daughter hadn't been so lucky, you'd have killed her again." "Wang Mianmian, is this how you repay us for raising you? You're cruel and malicious. From this moment on, you have nothing to do with the Wang family. Given that we've watched you grow up, we won't hold you accountable. Now get out of here. I never want to see you again." Wang Mianmian was stunned, but seeing how resolute Dad Wang and Mom Wang were, she shot me a resentful glare, then finally ran off wiping away her tears. I never expected my own birth parents to treat her this way. They seemed a little different from what I had imagined. Hwahan's parents were overseas. As soon as they heard the news, they boarded a plane back and asked my parents to look after him for the time being. Fortunately, Hwahan's surgery went very smoothly, and their hearts finally eased. It's just that he'll have to spend the rest of his life in a sterile room, but it didn't matter. They're loaded. The Hua family can afford to keep him. After settling him in, Dad Wang and Mom Wang worried that the horrifying experience in Ghost Village might leave some lasting psychological scars on me, so they went with me to see a therapist and took me traveling everywhere. Not long after, thanks to my outstanding performance, I inherited the company and became the new president of the One Group. As soon as the succession meeting ended, I took a detour to the hospital's sterile room. Inside, Hwahan was wrapped head to toe in bandages, looking exactly like a moving mummy. In my previous life, the powerful CEO everyone admired is now as miserable as a stray dog. "You really brought this on yourself." Even after seeing me arrive, his eyes were still full of hatred. We picked up the phones hanging on the glass and connected them to each other, and in the next instant, a fist came crashing down hard against the glass. "Wang Yanyan, this is all your fault. Why didn't you insist on taking us out of Ghost Village another way this time?" I laughed. "And then what, after I got you out, so you could kill me again?" His eyes flickered, and he said guiltily, "How could I possibly kill you? I was only joking with you, can't you tell?" I curled my lips in a sarcastic smile. "Oh, really? I'm just kidding too. How was I supposed to know Wang Mianmian would mess you up this badly? But I heard she might be pregnant and is asking Uncle Hua for money, saying it's yours. Did you know that?" He froze for a moment, repeating over and over under his breath, "Pregnant, mine," as he spoke. He suddenly burst into laughter, and the dead look in his eyes was instantly lit with a glimmer of light. "But Uncle Hua looked into it, and that child was someone else's." The light went out. "Wang Yanyan, I'm going to kill you." His eyes were bloodshot as he pounded furiously on the glass, fist after fist, as if he were determined to smash it to pieces and take my life. "Kill me." Looking at the way he hated me yet couldn't do a thing to me, I let out a cold laugh. Hwahan, look at you now, talking big with such shameless confidence. You're pathetic, pitiful, and downright disgusting." With that, I turned and walked away without another word. All that remained was the microphone swaying by the window, left to scream its despair into the void. 19 Of all the luck, that same afternoon, Wang Mianmian came to the sterile room arm in arm with a bald middle-aged man to visit a friend. She leaned against the greasy shoulder of the man, smiling and laughing as if nothing were the matter. Honey, do you know, back then, Ghost Village was terrifying, yet there was some fool who insisted on going there to play a game, and ended up ruining himself, turning into something neither human nor ghost. Funny, isn't it? The volume was just right, drifting through the microphone and straight into Wahan's ears, and, as luck would have it, the nurse was about to go in and change his dressing. The mummy, no longer able to contain his rage, burst out of the sterile room like a madman breaking through one obstacle after another. He suddenly shoved Wang Mianmian to the ground. Is it really that funny? I went with you to that haunted village and played along just to make you happy, and this is how you repay me, by making me look like an idiot. Why is it only me who has to end up neither human nor ghost? Wang Mianmian, I love you so much, why did you throw me away? Wahan pinned her beneath him and bit into her savagely. The more he had loved her before, the more he hated her now. Someone wanted to step forward to help, but by then, Wahan had completely lost his mind. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice turned into a feral roar of threats, looking just like a zombie from Resident Evil. No one dared to stop him. By the time the police arrived, Wang Mianmian had already had her throat torn open and bled to death from a severed artery. Wahan also died on the operating table in the end because of an infected wound. Just before he died, he was still muttering like a madman, if I die, I'll definitely get another shot. This time, I'll make every one of you pay. Unfortunately, there aren't that many miracles in this world, and there aren't that many do-overs. 20 When I was little, I was terrified of ghosts, because they looked so hideous and frightening, but now I realize people are even scarier than ghosts. They may look respectable on the outside, but inside, they're impossible to read. The rescue team said the whole Ghost Village incident was caused by us inhaling too much toxin from the flowers in the mist, which led to hallucinations. The skin on Wahan and the others looked as if it had been torn apart by a leather puppet, but in fact it was caused by some kind of insect corroding their skin. Although there are still many mysteries left unsolved, none of that matters to me anymore. What matters is that I made it out alive. Now I'm sitting on a fortune worth tens of millions, and I wanted to bring my master, senior brother, and senior sisters to the city to live with me, but they said they preferred life in the mountains. Well, there's not much you can do, everyone has to make their own choices, so I paid to have the mountain road repaired, to repay them for raising me. It also makes it easier for me to come back to the mountains often and catch up with them. I believe I'll be very happy in this life. End of text. Story 2. My childhood sweetheart has a strong desire. Every time we meet, it's like a thunderbolt striking the earth, and he seems to want to devour me alive. I posted a question online, asking if this was normal. Netizens jokingly replied, "Isn't this normal, you lucky girl, you're really having a good time." Later, my mother was eager to urge me to get married. After another passionate encounter, I took the opportunity to suggest taking him to meet my parents. Bien Yen, however, smiled casually. Sway sway, I have a girlfriend, she's a lady from an aristocratic family, her grandfather passed away, and she has to observe mourning for 3 years. I can't be intimate with her, so I turned to you. I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar and almost thought I had misheard, but Bien Yan's voice didn't stop. His voice carried a hint of laziness and hoarseness after satiation. But why do you suddenly want to meet the parents? Didn't you say you'd never get married in this lifetime? That's why I chose you to fill this gap. We've known each other since we were kids, so we can make do for 3 years. Fortunately, my girlfriend's mourning period finally ends tomorrow. I've finally seen the light at the end of the tunnel. I won't need you to accompany me anymore. His tone was cheerful, without the slightest bit of guilt towards me. My heart was cut like a knife. I clenched my hands tightly, my nails digging into my flesh, and the skin turned pale from the prick, but I didn't feel the pain. I looked at him like a lost soul and asked, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me you had a girlfriend?" "Because there was no need. Anyway, we're just casual lovers making do for 3 years, Bien Yen said indifferently, then came to ruffle my hair and said understandingly, "Don't worry, Sway Sway, I know you hate mistresses the most in your life. I would never let you be one." "Yes, I hate mistresses the most in my life. A mistress destroyed my family. When I was 10, the woman my father was having an affair with was discovered, and there was no peace at home ever since. My parents would argue hysterically every day, using the most vicious words to curse each other, treating each other like abhorrent enemies, wishing they could tear each other to pieces. Whenever I was scared and huddled in the corner, trembling and crying helplessly. It was Bien Yen who appeared to save me. He knew my inner knots better than anyone else. Since the first day we slept together, I reported it to my girlfriend. Without her permission, how could I sleep with another woman casually? I'm very mindful of my male virtue. She knows about your existence. Bien Yen held my cheeks, looking at me intently, his dark eyes filled with only me. Everyone says that a person with amorous eyes looks affectionate even when looking at a dog. That's why I was bewitched by his amorous eyes for a full 3 years. I once mistakenly thought he loved me deeply. After the truth came out, it all seemed like a disgraceful and ugly joke. So, Sui, you're really not a mistress. Bien Yen coaxed me in a low voice. His eyes gradually became hot again. His fingers slid from my cheek to my bare shoulder, wandering ambiguously, one last time. Okay, Sui. I suddenly pushed him away forcefully. I stumbled out of bed, hitting my forehead on the bedside table with a loud thud. Sui, are you okay? Bien Yen quickly got up and wanted to come and hug me. The place where I hit my forehead throbbed with pain. I felt extremely sad in my heart. Covering my forehead, I choked and said, "Don't come near me." Bien Yen really didn't come closer. He sat there shirtless, with his lean and broad upper body exposed. Looking at me with a somewhat puzzled and annoyed frown, I got up from the ground, put on my coat haphazardly, and left the room. I returned home in a daze. Pushing open the door, my mother sat on the sofa like a perfect wax figure, her beautiful face full of indifference. The look she gave me was also devoid of any warmth. "Didn't you say you'd bring your boyfriend to meet me? Where is he?" I fell silent. Recently, my mother had been pressing me hard to get married. Over the years, she and my father had been torturing each other relentlessly. The only thing that kept her going was the determination to prevent the company from falling into the hands of that outsider woman and her illegitimate children. Even though I had already established myself firmly in the company with my own abilities, she still wasn't at ease and wanted me to have a strategic marriage. I used to be glad that the person I liked was Bien Yen, because the Shen and Bien families were well matched, and there would be no obstacles to our marriage until this morning, when I was pushed to the limit. I told her that I already had a boyfriend and would bring him to meet her in the evening. My mother didn't say much, just nodded coldly, and now I was back alone. The answer was obvious. I said calmly, "There's no boyfriend anymore." She wasn't surprised and didn't ask any more questions. Instead, she handed me a stack of documents. These are all young talents in the circle. Their family backgrounds, characters, and appearances are all top-notch. Choose one who catches your eye. Today's events had exhausted me, and I really didn't have the energy to deal with my mother. I randomly picked out one piece of information and handed it to her. "This one." My mother glanced down. "Okay, I'll make the arrangements." I was dispirited and dragged my heavy body upstairs. A few minutes later, Nanny Wan knocked on my door with a tube of ointment. "Miss, Madam asked me to apply the medicine for you." Madam also asked me to tell you that there's no hurdle in life that can't be overcome. Cry when you're sad, laugh when you're happy, and don't make things difficult for yourself. In this world, only money and power can truly sustain you, and love is just a fleeting cloud. I looked at my face in the mirror, haggard and pale, with a prominent bump on my forehead, red and swollen. I looked as ridiculous as a clown. The tears I had held back all night finally rolled down. "Cry. This is the last time. After crying, I'll let go of everything. The past is like yesterday, which has passed away. The present is like today, a new beginning." In the following days, I blocked Bien Yen and devoted myself wholeheartedly to work. It worked well, and I almost forgot about him until Bien Yan's girlfriend sent me a message, asking to meet me. I didn't want to go at first, but somehow, I felt a bit guilty. People really shouldn't do things with a guilty conscience, even though I was the victim in this relationship, and even though I got involved with Bien Yen without knowing he had a girlfriend for 3 years. I still felt a sense of guilt towards this woman I had never met. The meeting place was in an antique-style garden restaurant. Pushing open the door of the private room, there was a woman sitting inside, wearing a plain cheongsam. Her long, straight black hair was casually tied up with a jade hairpin. Her face was a bit pale, but her delicate beauty was still evident. She smiled at me, as serene and indifferent as a beautiful painting of a woman. "Miss Shen, I'm Cui Xian. Please have a seat." I sat down opposite her in silence. From childhood to adulthood, I had witnessed my mother dealing with mistresses many times. There were moments of restrained tension and also hysterical outbursts, but never had it been as calm as today. Cui Xian stood up, poured me a cup of tea, and gently pushed it in front of me, saying with a beaming smile, "This tea is really good. It leaves a fragrant aftertaste. Miss Shen, give it a try." I mechanically picked it up and took a few sips, then I put down the cup. and looked at Cui Xian, saying, "I'm sorry, Miss Cui, I didn't mean to get involved between you and Bian Yen. When I was with Bian Yen, I thought he was single. I didn't know he had a girlfriend." She smiled faintly. "It's okay, a Yen told me about it long ago, I don't mind." So it seemed that as Bian Yen said, he had gotten Cui Xian's permission to be with me, but this was really disgusting and absurd. I felt like a monkey being played around by the two of them. You may not mind, but I do. If you had reminded me 3 years ago, I would have kicked him away immediately and never gotten entangled with Bian Yen for 3 years. What on earth was going through your mind to allow your boyfriend to be with another woman? Do you have some kind of cuckold fetish? Cui Xian looked at me indifferently. As noble as a lady in a traditional Chinese painting, our Cui family has been an aristocratic family since the Sui and Tang dynasties. It's normal for a young lady to have a few servant girls as part of her dowry. You're just fulfilling the function of a dowry servant girl. What's there to care about? A Yen has strong desires. My grandfather passed away, and I had to observe mourning for 3 years. I couldn't bear to make him endure it, and you happen to be able to help him relieve his desires. Isn't it a win-win situation? I stared at her in shock. I never thought that in the 21st century, there would still be such remnants of feudal thinking. Cui Xian lowered her eyelashes and sipped her tea. Her voice was gentle and unhurried. "Shen Sui, I've heard a Yen mention you. You two are childhood sweethearts, growing up together. Your family is broken, but the Bian family is warm and happy, so you like to visit the Bian family a lot, and Uncle and Aunt Bian also like you very much. You've had a crush on a Yen since you were a child, and your biggest dream is to marry into the Bian family and become a part of it." I clenched my fists and interrupted her coldly. "Cut the crap. What exactly do you want to say?" She smiled, pinched her handkerchief, and coughed lightly. "Miss Shen, let's make a deal. I have a heart condition, and my health isn't very good. I hope you can continue to have a physical relationship with a Yen to help him relieve his desires. In return, the Cui family will step in to undermine your father, deal with your father's illegitimate children, and hand over the Shen family's business to you. How about it?" I stood up abruptly and cursed. "Are you crazy?" With that, I turned around and left, but I hadn't taken 2 steps when my legs went weak, and I almost fell to the ground. Then, a tingling itch that gnawed at my heart surged from the depths of my body. It felt like my whole body was on fire. I quickly turned my head, looked at Cui Xian, and gritted my teeth, saying, "You actually drugged the tea." Cui Xian still looked as calm as ever. "Don't worry, Miss Shen. I used a secret imperial recipe passed down in the Cui family. It won't harm your body. There's no need to worry too much." I was so angry that I almost exploded. I didn't want to entangle with this crazy woman in front of me any longer and tried to pull myself together to open the door, but the door was locked from the outside. No matter how hard I turned the handle, it wouldn't open. I tried my best to suppress the surging heat in my body. "Crazy woman, open the door." Cui Xian remained unmoved, assuming a haughty posture. "How dare you? There aren't many mistresses as magnanimous as me these days. Instead of being grateful, you speak rudely." I was speechless, my hands trembling. I took out my phone from my bag, wanting to call 110. Cui Xian was quick-witted and snatched my phone away. "Don't waste your efforts." She took my phone and calmly dialed a number. It was answered almost instantly. Immediately, a series of angry questions from Bian Yen came through the receiver. "Okay, Shen Sui, you still remember to call me. Weren't you so stubborn, didn't you block all my contact information? So what exactly are you throwing a tantrum for? Didn't you enjoy it when we slept together? Wasn't I satisfying enough for you? Can't you stop being so petty? Can't we just part amicably? We can still be childhood sweethearts and friends even if we're not lovers. Why do you have to act so coy and make everyone unhappy?" The drug was starting to take effect. I dug my fingers into the ground desperately to suppress it. I didn't dare to open my mouth at all, afraid that as soon as I spoke, an ambiguous sound would escape. Bian Yen paused for a moment, and his voice softened a bit. "All this fuss of yours is just to force me to give in, isn't it? You want to monopolize me, want me to break up with Shinner, and be with you alone, right? But I'm telling you, Sui, I'm impossible to break up with Shinner. She's a very kind and gentle girl. If you met her, you'd think I'm really lucky." This sudden confession cracked the mask of calmness that Cui Xian had always maintained. Her eyes filled with tears, and her fair cheeks blushed, looking shy and touched. Sui, be good, okay? Stop making trouble, huh?" Bian Yen suddenly lowered his voice, using what he thought was his charming bubble voice, "Trying to seduce me. As long as you're good, I promise you, I'll reserve my next life for you. If you don't believe me, I'll accompany you to the temple tomorrow, and we'll swear in front of the Buddha." I felt so disgusted that I almost vomited up my last Night's dinner. People can't even empathize with their past selves. For example, at this moment, I really couldn't understand why I had liked this kind of man before. I was really subdued now. A hint of jealousy flashed in Cui Xian's eyes, and she couldn't help but say softly, Yan, it's me. Bian Yan was taken aback, and his voice became gentle and doting. Xianer, you're being naughty again. Why are you holding Sui Sui's phone? Are you two together? Cui Xian glanced at me. At this time, I was in pain, curled up, my body covered in sweat. Twisting like a twist, she withdrew her gaze and said in a coquettish voice, Miss Shen is in some trouble. She's been drugged with aphrodisiac. Yan, can you help her? We're at Suiyuan. I remember your dinner appointment is also at Suiyuan today, right? Come over now. You should be able to get here in 5 minutes. We'll wait for you here. Bian Yan became excited instantly, and his tone seemed hurt and pained. Xianer, since the day your mourning period ended, Sui and I have already ended. I really love you. You don't need to test me like this. Cui Xian laughed and said coquettishly, okay, I know you love me, but I also know that you still care about Miss Shen in your heart. It's okay. As long as you love me, I can overlook everything. Come quickly. Yan, Miss Shen can hardly hold on anymore. After hanging up the phone, she threw my phone on the dining table. Then she slowly walked over and squatted down beside me, wiping the sweat off my face with a handkerchief. You're sweating a lot. It must be very uncomfortable, right? Women are duplicitous creatures. You say you want to break things off, but your body may think otherwise. I closed my eyes, trying to gather my strength. Now that the door couldn't be opened and my phone was snatched away, I could only secretly wait for an opportunity. Soon, the sound of footsteps came from the corridor. The door was opened, and Bian Yan rushed in. Xianer, seeing me lying on the ground, my face flushed, curled up like a cooked shrimp. His eyes dimmed slightly. It was that familiar, overly aggressive look filled with desire. Cui Xian tilted her head and smiled charmingly at him. Yan, you're here. Bian Yan looked touched. Xianer, to have a wife like you, what more could a man ask for? He quickly walked to her side, cupped her face with both hands, and leaned down to kiss her passionately. The two of them kissed ecstatically, oblivious to their surroundings. This was the moment I suddenly leaped up from the ground like a wild buffalo. I burst out with super strong impact and rushed out of the door. As I ran, I shouted frantically, help, murder, fire, someone is abducting a woman. Damn Suiyuan. It was as desolate as a haunted house. With all that commotion, not even a single waiter could be seen. I huffed and puffed as I ran in front. Bian Yan leisurely chased after me like teasing a caged little animal. His tone was frivolous and teasing. Sui, be careful when you run. If you really get hurt, I'll be. I was going crazy with discomfort. It was hot, so hot that I couldn't bear it. Unconsciously, I tore open my collar. Turning around the long corridor, I finally saw the gate of Suiyuan. Instantly, I felt the dawn of hope. With an inhuman willpower, I started to accelerate and sprinted forward like crazy, but I still couldn't escape. Just when I was only one step away from the gate, Bian Yan caught up in big strides, clamped my shoulders with both hands, and pressed me hard against the wall. He leaned down close to me, his hot breath hitting my face ambiguously. Sui, have you had enough? You're such a tormenting little vixen. There's no antidote to the Cui family's secret imperial aphrodisiac. I'm the only man you have. If you don't let me help you, who else do you want to help you? The smell of male hormones permeated everywhere. I was forced to have red eyes. I kicked him hard, sending him into the artificial lake next to us. Fuck you. What the hell are you barking about? Go feed the fish, you bastard. Bian Yan thrashed around in the lake. Shen Sui, come back here. Damn it, you're my woman. No other wild man is allowed to touch you. I ignored him, quickly pulling open the gate. I stumbled out. There was a Koenigsegg convertible parked at the entrance, and the owner was about to start the car. I took a running start, using the back jump technique and high jump. I landed in the car like a comet hitting the earth. The car owner was stunned. Is this how beautiful girls make their entrances these days? So unique. I looked up at him, gasping for breath from his arms. My eyes met his insanely handsome face. Instantly, a wicked thought came to my mind. The long, suppressed desire swept through my body, and my heart started pounding like it was about to jump out of my chest. I asked politely, hello, sir, can I kiss you? With the last bit of remaining rationality, I waited for his answer. The man twitched the corner of his mouth and squinted his eyes. Do you even know me? And you want to kiss me? I was honest, don't know, but I'll know you after the kiss. I couldn't hold back anymore. I climbed onto his shoulder like a water snake and touched his lips, exhaling like an orchid. His lips were very kissable, soft, cool, and comfortable. This kiss was like a timely rain, temporarily alleviating some of the raging fire burning in my body. The man's beautiful face seemed to be blushing as if it was about to catch fire. For a moment, it was hard to tell whether it was him or me who was drugged. I gently caressed his Adam's apple and collarbone, planning to go further. In that crucial split second, I saw my reflection in the man's pitch-black pupils. My eyes were blood red, my face full of a flirtatious look, my forehead covered in fine beads of sweat, my clothes disheveled, my chest revealing a glimpse of skin, and my hair as messy as a ghost. Ugly. It was really ugly. That feeling was like you met your ex-boyfriend at the street corner when you were unkempt, without makeup, and wearing a big, flowered Northeast-style jacket. It was so embarrassing. I felt like I was drenched with a basin of ice-cold water. I instantly calmed down and gritted my teeth, saying word by word, "Sir, please, take me to the hospital." To avoid continuing to harm innocent men, I picked up his phone and smashed it hard on my head. The moment the blood gushed out, I fainted. When I woke up again, I was lying in the hospital. The strange tingling heat in my body had completely subsided. It was like after a high fever. After the fever subsided, only some soreness was left in my body. I wanted to prop myself up and get out of bed, but a sharp pain came from my head. I couldn't help but hiss. The man who was sleeping beside me, laying like a zombie, bounced up. Seeing that I woke up, he carefully helped me lie back down and tucked the quilt in for me, acting like a male nanny. "You're awake. Don't move around." It was the owner of the Koenigsegg. I took a closer look and was almost mesmerized. The man's facial features were so exquisitely beautiful that he seemed to have stepped out of a comic. Even with his hair tousled like a bird's nest, it didn't affect his good looks. There was an unruly flamboyance between his eyebrows and eyes. His figure was also excellent, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, and he seemed to be at least 188 meters tall. Probably because I stared at him for a while, he asked lazily, "Am I good looking?" I was honest. "Yes, you are." He laughed, put his hands in his pockets, and raised his eyebrows. "Do you really not know me?" I said. A flash of inspiration went through my mind, and I understood what he meant. "Yes, I do. You're the honorable owner of the Koenigsegg, and you're my savior." He looked at me, half angry and half amused. "You don't know me at all." He walked over to the side, picked up the kettle, and poured me a glass of water. My eyes were involuntarily attracted to his hands again. They were fair, slender, with well-defined joints, and the prominent veins on the back of his hands were clearly visible. I couldn't help but swallow. Damn it. Did the doctor not completely detoxify me? Why do I feel like I'm getting hot all over again? As the man handed me the water cup, he said, "The doctor said you have a mild concussion and need to be hospitalized for observation for 1 day. You can be discharged tomorrow." "Thank you, kind-hearted person. I have a name. It's Huang Shang." "What? Emperor? Long live the emperor. 10,000 years. 10,000 years, 10,000 years. What an arrogant name." Huang Shang looked at me with a gloomy expression and glanced at me, yellow as in the color of sunset, and Shang is in the law of entropy increase. After saying that, he stared at me intently, as if there was some expectation hidden in his eyes. I forced a couple of laughs. "It's really magnificent." A hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. He stared at me, a bit annoyed. I didn't know what I did to make him angry. I blinked, trying to recall, and suddenly had an epiphany. "I'm sorry about before. I kissed you without your consent." His ears turned bright red in an instant. That blush spread from his ears to his neck and then to his face. Finally, his whole head was as red as a juicy tomato. My heart skipped a beat, and I said in surprise, "Could that be your first kiss?" The man didn't say anything. His eyes were pitch black and pure, like a puppy's eyes, looking at me expectantly, as if a bit sad. "I'm really sorry. Please don't be angry with me. If you really can't get over it." I originally wanted to say that if he really couldn't get over it, I would let him kiss me back, but when my eyes met the man's watery eyes, I felt that this was too presumptuous, so I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Just think of it as being bitten by a dog. He pursed his lips, the blush on his face faded instantly, and he looked at me expressionlessly. He seemed even angrier. He turned around and faced away from me, saying coldly, "Go to sleep, I'll stay with you. It's better to have someone take care of you when you're in the hospital." I said cautiously, "If you have something to do, you can actually leave." He got so angry that he turned back around and said coolly, "Kicking me out, using me and then turning your back on me. Is this how you treat your savior?" I obediently closed my eyes. I felt a bit relieved in my heart. Fortunately, he didn't ask me what exactly happened. Otherwise, how could I answer? The next day, after being discharged from the hospital, Huang Shang took me to my doorstep. I sincerely asked him to leave his bank card number, saying that I would transfer the money for his losses in the past 2 days to him. He looked indifferent. "No need," consider it as doing a good deed every day." With that, he stepped on the gas pedal and drove away after being missing for a night. My mother didn't react much. Bien Yen called the house. "Did you two quarrel? Don't mention Bien Yen in front of me. From now on, I'm at odds with him." My mother wasn't interested in asking why and changed the topic. "I've arranged the blind date. Next week, old Master Huang will be having his 80th birthday. Everyone in the circle will be invited to the birthday party. You can meet then." Soon, the day of the birthday banquet arrived. The Huang family's old mansion was also a Jiangnan-style garden, with pavilions, terraces, and towers scattered in a disorderly yet harmonious way. Every step presented a picturesque scene. It was much bigger than Suiyuan. My mother and I were wearing high-end custom-made gowns. Just as we walked into the banquet hall, we ran into my father, arm in arm with a charming and glamorous woman. She looked unfamiliar. He must have changed his new female companion again. My mother looked indifferent. "That old lecher is such an embarrassment." My father heard it with his sharp ears, and the two started arguing again. It was really the same old show that had been going on for over a decade. I took a deep breath, exhaled the pent-up anger in my chest, and turned around to slip away. As a result, I met Bien Yen, holding Cui Xian's hand, walking towards me. What bad luck. I turned around to leave, but Bien Yen quickly caught up and grabbed my arm. Sui, where are you running, little thing? Are you shy when you see me? I really envy you. Your skin is so thick that even a bullet would bounce off." Bien Yan's face darkened. "Do you have to be so sarcastic? Don't worry, Shanner and I have already discussed it. Except for the marriage certificate, whatever she has, you won't be lacking either." I struggled desperately. "Get lost. Can you stop pestering me?" Cui Xian dropped the amiable pretense from that day, raised her chin, and looked arrogant. "Shen Sui, you played the role of the chaste and martyr enough. Don't overdo it. Know your limits. According to the rules of our aristocratic families, you're just a lowly concubine, something that can be disposed of at the mistress's will. What are you pretending for here?" I was so angry that I was about to go crazy. Suddenly, I was pulled behind someone and shielded. Huang Shang stared at that crazy couple, his voice cold and full of murderous intent. "Aristocratic family, very well. Did my ancestor Huang Chao miss your family when he killed the aristocratic families with the genealogy back then?" Cui Xian was left speechless. Her face turned as colorful as a palette. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Finally, there was someone who could deal with this feudal-minded crazy woman. Cui Xian, this person, talked about the aristocratic family and the mistress all the time, as if she had escaped from a mental hospital. Huang Chao had killed over 100 aristocratic families with the genealogy back then. He was the nemesis of people like Cui Xian who were obsessed with the aristocratic family. Bien Yen glared at Huang Shang. "Huang Shang, what the hell do you mean? I'm talking to my childhood sweetheart. What does it have to do with you? I could tell back in school that you had ill intentions towards Shen Sui. You still haven't given up, right? You're harassing her again. Do you think I'm dead?" A huge question mark flashed through my mind. Back in school, why don't I remember seeing Huang Shang? Huang Shang's voice was indifferent. "Even if I have ill intentions, so what? Sui isn't your possession." Bien Yen was furious. "You were just a lackey following me back then, a dog daring to covet what belongs to me." Cui Xian tugged at Bien Yan's sleeve. Yen, watch your words. He's the crown prince of the Huang family after all. We can't afford to offend him." Bien Yen calmed down a bit. "Huang Shang, I don't want to make things too ugly. Let go of Sui. I have something to talk to her about alone." I spat at him. "I have nothing to talk to you about." Huang Shang's tone was lazy. "Did you hear that? My fiancé said she has nothing to talk to you about." He seemed a bit pleased, but I widened my eyes. When did I become Huang Shang's fiancé? Why don't I know about it? But I wasn't stupid enough to expose him. Bien Yen was stunned for a moment, then laughed exaggeratedly. "Your fiancé? Who are you kidding? If it's true, prove it by kissing on the spot." Huang Shang looked back at me, his eyes lingering on my lips for a moment. I felt my heart start to race again, but he lowered his eyes and looked away, snorting. "What are you? Why should I prove it to you? If you don't prove it, it's fake." "Huang Shang, you've been a lovesick puppy for half your life. She doesn't even know you. How pitiful." Huang Shang's long eyelashes fluttered slightly, his face turned a bit pale, and he looked as if he was made of glass. With a sense of delicate brokenness, my heart suddenly ached. My body reacted before my mind did. I suddenly hooked my hands around his neck, pulled his head down, and kissed him hard. I murmured softly, "I'm sorry, don't be angry. Anyway, we've kissed once before, one more time doesn't matter." Huang Shang's eyes suddenly became dark and intense. There seemed to be huge waves surging in his eyes, a violent storm forming a huge whirlpool. as if it would suck me in. He just stood there, unmoving. I felt a bit awkward and was about to give up, but then he took the initiative, holding the back of my head and approaching. Pressing his lips against mine, he kissed me frantically, rubbing our lips together. His eyes were closed, and his Adam's apple rolled sexily as he led me to dance with him in this passionate embrace. I was like a lone boat, bobbing up and down in the sea of desire he created. Bien Yen flew into a rage instantly. He rushed over, ready to start a fight. Damn it, Huang Shang, how dare you touch my woman? Huang Shang pecked my lips and said hoarsely, be good, we'll kiss again later. My face flushed, and I rubbed my cheeks. Then I saw Huang Shang throw Bien Yen over his shoulder with a speed I couldn't even see clearly, sending him flying several meters away. Bien Yen let out an ouch and lay on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. Cui Xian was heartbroken and rushed over, shouting, a yen, are you okay? Bien Yen was furious and lay on the ground, shouting, do you know how she practiced her kissing skills? I taught her. She slept with me for 3 years. You know, Shen Sui is just a worn-out shoe that I've discarded. You actually treat her like a treasure. Huang Shang's face turned terrifyingly gloomy. He clenched his fists and was about to rush up, but I was faster than him. I rushed to Bien Yen like a cannonball. I attacked him with both hands and feet, raining punches and kicks, scratching and clawing like using the 9-in white bone claw. You damn scumbag. You lied to my feelings. You damn scumbag. Your mouth is full of crap. You should be recycled at the garbage dump. You damn scumbag. Why didn't God strike you with lightning? At this moment, in the cloudless sky, there was a sudden boom. A huge thunderclap. A bolt of lightning crackled down from the sky. It precisely hit Bien Yen. Bien Yen was instantly turned into a black figure, and his hair stood up like a hedgehog. There was also a faint smell of cooked meat in the air. Bien Yen rolled his eyes and fainted. His life or death was unknown. The commotion we made in the yard quickly alerted the Huang family and my mother. The two families looked at me and Huang Shang, holding hands, with beaming smiles. Look at these two kids. They're already holding hands. It seems the blind date was very satisfactory for both sides. I reacted instantly and looked at Huang Shang. So the person my mom arranged for the blind date is you, he said irritably. Auntie told me that I was the one you personally selected from dozens of profiles, didn't you know? Feeling guilty, I shrank my head and said in a small voice, I was in a bad mood that day and chose randomly without even looking at who it was. Suddenly, I remembered another thing. Is your family really descendants of Huang Chao? No wonder your name is so overbearing. Do you really believe that? You said it so seriously. The descendants of Huang Chao have already changed their surnames. I said oh, and nodded. Then I remembered another thing again. What did that scumbag mean by those words? What ill intentions? His face turned red again, and he said a bit coyly, nothing. He's a scumbag who was struck by lightning. Can he tell the truth? I thought about it and found it quite reasonable, so I didn't ask any further. Later, Huang Shang and I started dating naturally. The more I got to know him, the more I felt like I had found a treasure. He was cute, innocent, and easy to please. When I got busy with work, I would be completely absorbed, neglecting everything. He would accompany me to work overtime. He would sit quietly beside me with his laptop, neither making noise nor disturbing me. When I looked up at him in the middle of my busy work, he would look back at me as if he had a telepathic connection. His eyes were clean, looking at you like Bambi, making it hard for anyone to resist. Different from my previous relationship, which was deformed, twisted, and full of desires. This relationship was like a primary school student's game of house. It was pure and innocent, without any R-rated content. There was no physical entanglement, but from each other's eyes, we could feel the strong and boundless love we had for each other. Bien Yen was struck by lightning and became paralyzed on one side of his body. The attending doctor, who was my friend, gave me the exclusive inside story. Not only is he paralyzed, but his private parts don't work either. He's completely turned into a eunuch. Great, turning a womanizer into a eunuch should be more painful than killing him, right? As the saying goes, what goes around comes around. I heard that Cui Xian still stayed by his side, and the two got married quickly. I highly suspect that Cui Xian likes the impotent Bien Yen. Otherwise, why would she go to such lengths to harm me? I didn't think about it for too long. Everything related to them had become a thing of the past. In the past 6 months, I, together with various directors, completely sidelined my father and kicked him out of the decision-making level. I took over the company completely. I immediately sent my father's several illegitimate children to Africa to develop the market. Just as my mother said, only money and power can truly sustain a person, and I found an album in Huang Shang's study. There were many photos of me when I was a child. Only then did I finally remember that I had known him before. Bian Yen was 1 grade higher than me. He was a well-known figure in school since he was a child, always followed by a large group of people. Huang Sheng was one of his little followers. He hadn't grown much at that time, looking like a thin and short bean sprout, always silent. The brokenness of my original family made me rely on Bian Yen a lot. When I pestered Bian Yen, he was always impatient after a while and would ask his little followers to accompany me. Memories came flooding back to me. I finally remembered during those saddest days, it was actually Huang Sheng who accompanied me. When my parents were arguing and I was crying sadly, he would quietly hand me tissues. When Bian Yen ignored me, he would clumsily comfort me. But at that time, I only had Bian Yen in my eyes and couldn't see anyone else. Unexpectedly, after all these twists and turns, my current lover was an old acquaintance. My tears fell one by one onto the album. Huang Sheng hugged my waist from behind and said softly, "You still found out." I turned around and threw myself into his arms, choking. "Why do you like me?" He looked at me tenderly. "Love is just love. There's no reason you liked Bian Yen so much. I was so jealous, but for your happiness, I could only quietly step back." Later, I went to study in the United States, vowing to forget you. But as soon as I returned to China, my parents forced me to go on a blind date. You don't know how happy I was when I found out the blind date partner was you, but you didn't remember me. His voice was a bit desolate, and I quickly argued in a small voice, "It's not my fault. They say a girl changes a lot as she grows up, but you've changed even more. Look at yourself. Do you look anything like you did when you were a kid?" Huang Sheng bent down and kissed my lips, then asked with a smile in his eyes, Sui, "Are you satisfied with how I am now?" Then, I grabbed his tie, pushed him onto the bed, straddled his waist and tilted my head, smiling. "I have to try to know." Huang Sheng's eyes darkened. He suddenly pulled me down, and with a whirl, I was pinned under him. He stared at me, his eyes astonishingly bright. Sui, I love you, the end.